So it looks like there might be one person in here. Just thought I'd fire this up. I was putzing around in my garage trying to get some motivation. But if anybody's out there up for chatting, go ahead and log in and say hi. As you can see, got the engine and the drivetrain out. Hey Ryan, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm just bored, just hanging out in my garage, making a mess that I'm gonna have to clean up before my wife gets home in the morning. Uh, didn't expect to get hardly anybody on here tonight, but since you're on here, Ryan, definitely sometime. I work this next week. It's a long week. I work my 6 days, and then I work Friday through next Friday. So if you guys happen to have an opening, just send me a text or something like that, and we'll see about getting this thing over there so we can kind of get some of that dustless blasting done. Yeah, for those of you who are in the Minnesota, Minneapolis area, if you need some dustless blasting done, check out Ryan Barsness. He has a YouTube channel on here, and him and his dad sell used Mopar parts to. They have a lot of e-body stuff, and then like 71 to 74 B-body stuff too. I knew 10 o'clock at night would be kind of a bad time to try to do one of these, but I was already in the garage just putzing around. I threw up a little short. It's kind of a joke about how many parts I've got for this car. Like I said, I just about have everything to complete this car. I just need the wiring harness and the skill and ability to put it all back together once we start getting everything painted underneath. But yeah, so what's new with you, Ryan? If you're still in here, so it's been a pretty exciting 5 minutes here. It says there's three people in, down to one again. People are signing in, seeing that nobody's on here. So, hey, what's up, man? Just putzing around in the garage. Are you at work? Hey, Tales from the Junkyard. Sorry, there's not too many people in here tonight. I didn't announce this. I didn't plan it. It was just happened to have my computer, and I thought I'd come in. Volumes are low. Well, that's actually good from what I heard earlier this week. I heard Monday was pretty bad. Nomadic Van Addict. Maybe all of our chairs will be broken, and then over the weekend. Oh, can anybody hear me now? How's that? Did that make it any better? All right. Yeah, was just getting ready to load up my truck for tomorrow and take a bunch of stuff to my storage spot, and decided to line everything up that I had for the car next to the car and kind of make a little YouTube short, which I already posted. But anyway, not much going on a like a 10:30 on a Wednesday night. Couldn't think of anything to watch on TV, so here in a little bit I'm about to go in and just start reading. I actually just saw the Vice Grip Lodge channel. And at first I didn't know if it was a joke or not, but when I saw it, I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Seems to be right up his style. Um, I like everything he does. He's very entertaining, and if anything, I might find that more exciting than watching all those car revivals. For me, the car revivals get a little old after a while. Aching. So, Tales from the Junkyard asked, "What's my favorite current project?" I wish they weren't projects actually, but I really enjoy driving the satellite around. I was going to get the two barrel carburetor rebuilt, but I saw that I could get a used one online for about what it would cost me to order all the parts and stuff. So I got a two barrel coming in for the satellite and see if that doesn't kind of fix some of the stumbling issues. Um, but it's been a pleasure to drive right now. And actually, I put probably about 50 miles on it today, just driving around down to the park and stuff. But every once in a while, I get in the urge to just sell this thing and then everything that goes with it. And because it's such a big project. But then, like tonight, I just stacked everything up where I could see it all at once. So by doing that, it kind of helps me say, hey, I'm really not too far from getting this thing fired up. I even kind of wonder if there would be a chance that I'd be able to get it done by the fall, but that'll take some serious work. Yeah, if you look in the header of my channel, you'll see a green car, and it's actually not this one. It was a project I had when I first bought my house, and yeah, I gave up on it midstream, and nothing but regrets because that car had a really nice body, even way nicer than this one. Hey, Johnny Mopar, what's up, man? I just watched your the one that got away video today. Nomadic Van Addict, ETA on running and driving, best guess. Um, well, if you talk to my wife and give me the go ahead, we could probably get this all running. I'm pretty sure that I can get everything set in place, but I would want someone to double check everything. Um, Gary's back in business. When I was at Mopar's in the park, me and Ryan were walking around, and somebody had mentioned that they thought that he had passed away, but I got a hold of him, and he's very much alive, and he still got his shop up and running. So definitely want to get this car back there to have him finish the bars. And at one time, he quoted me a price, the amount of money to take an engine out and then to install one. And it was pretty reasonable. So I think that if we get this over to Ryan's, media blast the front clip, get it painted, then we can start putting the QA1 front suspension on, get the engine and transmission set into place, and then measure for the drivetrain or the drive shaft. And then that's about it other than wiring harness. So it wouldn't take much to get running. Now, as far as to get it ready to do like zip tie drags, which Johnny Mopar, actually it's duct tape drags now. I would really love to go there and see John Dirt and Johnny Mopar, uh, but I would have to probably get some glass in this thing again and get it running. I don't suppose I would need lights or anything. Just run it like a true drag car. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Johnny's last video, he talks about how he wound up acquiring and then trading off General Mayhem to David Freiberger. Uh, and when I watched on Facebook where you posted the 440 you bought, Johnny, and the stealth heads, and you made a comment, "Don't worry, you've got other uses for those heads." And I was just on the verge of typing, "What are you going to do with the stealth heads?" But yeah, I'm sure a guy like you with multiple projects, you'll keep. I wish I would have kept the ones that originally were on this motor when it had the tunnel ram. Um, but if I hadn't have sold them with the tunnel ram, I never would have been able to afford the Trick Flow 270s. But it sure would be nice to have those now. Yeah, Andy, I don't know if you've seen some of these other people in this chat, but Johnny Mopar has connections with General Mayhem from Roadkill and Roadkill Garage, and then um, Tales from the Junkyard. He's got a pretty good, got an older Barracuda that he's working on, and his dad's got a badass '74. I don't know if it's Roadrunner or Satellite, but either way, it's just mint. But it's always kind of yeah, yeah. I love those cars. Um, Ryan Barsness has got a couple that they're going to combine into one and make a really nice car for his dad. I think they're one of the unsung uh, cool body styles of the Mopar world. The '73 and the '74. When I was growing up, one of the guys I went to high school with had a Sundance satellite, made customs. Yeah, I can see the lure in this hobby to hang on to stuff and not get rid of it, but I'm in the process of hauling a bunch of junk that's on the other side of the screen in my space, and ultimately, I thought I had that fixed. Maybe I'm sitting too far away. Maybe if I sit closer, that'll help the volume a little bit. Plus, I'm tending to mumble. Did that help the volume any? Yeah, there's certain things I'm definitely going to keep. I'm going to keep the factory satellite hood and then the factory 14-inch magnums. Always want to keep those around. A Rabbit Transit. Tales from the Junkyard. I actually think I don't think I saw that video, unfortunately. I remember some guys on the chat talking about it, but yeah, A Rabbit Transit. I just was bored, and that's the only time I ever do this is when I'm sitting around and there's nothing to watch on TV. And but yeah, anymore it seems like um, I get far behind on watching videos. I know Adam from Hoosier Garage is one of my favorite channels, but I haven't seen some of his. I watched his last one because it was 7 minutes long, but some of them are like 20 to 30 minutes long, which are awesome. But I want to have the time to commit to sit down and just start watching videos. Yeah, I know. I mentioned on the chat that I was thinking about how sometimes I get to thinking I want to sell the Cornet. So that's why tonight I just took everything I have for it and I lined it all up alongside the car here, just to prove to myself that I have just about everything it takes to put it together. That kind of helps with motivation, I think, if nothing else. Um, yeah, I love my 68 satellite. That car is really nice. Um, it was restored like in the 90s, and I noticed the other day it was sitting out in the rain, and underneath the dash, I've got a leak, and I don't know if that's coming from the cowl or if it's coming from some sort of open vent. Um, there's really no rust on the car. It's got the original floor pans in it. Uh, it's had quarter skins put on it, but other than that, uh, it's such a pristine car. I can't figure out where the water leak's coming from. So for those of you guys that are on here, Nomadic Van Addict is a buddy of mine. I work with him, and he's my favorite troll. I'm still thinking about the podcast. I actually did some major research into that first subject that we talked about doing. If you're still up for that, Nomadic, I went down a deep dive and found even more interesting stuff that is actually kind of disheartening. It kind of also points more toward like the last meme that you sent me. There's some new stirrings in the world back there. But yeah, this is when I get laying out stuff like this is when I wish I kind of lived closer to some of you YouTube guys that have a little bit more knowledge. Like I said, I don't mind hard work. I don't mind grinding and doing all the dirty stuff. And I know how everything technically goes together and I can bolt parts together, but I just don't have the finesse to make it all run and work smoothly together. So it'd always be nice to have that extra pair of hands, somebody to show me the way. I don't know what it's like for you guys, but it's been a really nice day here. It was only about 75 degrees. And then right now at night, there's a nice cool breeze coming in through the garage. Hey, Customs. I'm from Minneapolis, and I've got family live down in the southern tip of Illinois. So that's kind of originally where we hail from. Yeah, I love the scoop. I kept it sitting on there, and I noticed that it's not even that heavy, but it kind of sat on that race weight hood and was kind of bringing it down a little bit. So I just put some stuff underneath the center toward the back cowl of the car, and I got the hood on there and sitting on that to try to kind of rebow it. But when we put the Zeus fasteners and stuff in, that'll hold the hood in line where it's supposed to be. But yeah, I think I'm definitely going with the pro stock hood scoop. I never want to claim that that car is a Super B or anything, and it kind of fits the theme of the car better. But I definitely like to get that scoop mounted on this hood and then paint it matte black, and that'd be it for that hood. I thought about maybe I've got some spray cans to match this green, and once I get the hood, like where they put the scoop on it, do some green on the hood, and then put like the fishnet or like lace down on the hood, and then paint the matte black over the green so that it has kind of like a little bit of a lace job on the hood with the scoop to kind of fit the era that I'm going for. Yeah, Rabbit Transit says he's got family near Minneapolis. It's a pretty good city. You know, I never go downtown. It's kind of California wannabe sometimes too, which I'm definitely the hillbilly in my cul-de-sac. There's one neighbor that actually came over to help me when I did my rear end swap, but now whenever I start moving stuff around in my garage, I think my neighbors are, some of them are watching to see. I bet if I pushed this car that's not running and driving out in my driveway and left it out there, I'd get some visits. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've had this for like a million years. My wife won't let me wear it in public. So there's a guy who's got a 70 Coronet drag car called the Hornet. Tommy S, I think, is the name of his YouTube channel, and I think he's from Germany. But he had some really interesting things on his Coronet race car. In front of the cowl support, he put his radiator, and then he had two other smaller coolers. I don't know if one's like an oil cooler and one's a transmission cooler, but they're in front of the, and on the Dodges compared to the Plymouths, there's about 2.5, 3 feet extra space up there. So it would actually be kind of cool to put that stuff in front of there. And then I've got more room. I don't have to worry about a fan hitting into the shroud or anything like that. So Johnny Mopar just got a fiberglass hood, or is it might be a steel hood, a 6 pack. So it's probably fiberglass for a 68, 69 Charger. Yeah, those would be pretty cool. Mine is sitting over there. And I was watching Muscle City Madness, and he said his doesn't have the. I'll turn it back again. This this part here, which is like the satellite. So I guess there's a version of those that don't have that, and then those that do. I watch a lot of channels, and part of the reason I never ask anyone to ever subscribe or even try to go out and get subscribers is because my channel's like a self-limited channel. Um, I really don't want any other projects ever again. Just want to get the satellite with a 440 in it, where it's a nice, dependable driver, and then get this thing up and running and have some fun with it. But if anything ever happens to that engine, I'm done. I don't think I'll ever do the race car thing again. Yeah, that one's it's not as rough as I thought it was when I first bought it. I mean, they gave it to me for such a ridiculous price that I was like, well, it's probably pretty warped in that. But I got to looking at it, and it's not cracked or anything. Ryan and his dad did me a solid by hooking me up with that six pack hood. That was always the plan for that car: the black wheels and then the blacked out six pack hood. But the car came with that '69 Roadrunner hood that was already painted to match the car, and when I put it on there, I'm like, wow, I just love the contrast. The black hood vents of the 69 hood with the black vinyl top, black interior, and black wheels. It's just kind of a nice, subtle contrast. Whereas once I get the matte black six pack hood on there, I'm almost afraid that that'll be too much black. And then in my one of my first Mopar in the park videos, I actually show there was a '69 Roadrunner A4 silver with a black vinyl top. He had the black wheels, he had the black hood, but then he put this ridiculous Roadrunner cartoon uh, mural, vinyl mural on the side. Um, but when I saw that, I was like, that's almost too much black. Yeah, I can say no. Now, if a nice GTO came along, I would be very tempted. Shame there's not a guy looking for a 1970 Coronet drag car that happens to have a 70 GTO he'd like to trade. If you're out there, get a hold of me. Yeah, right when COVID hit, met a really nice guy south of the cities named Larry. He's got some awesome cars in his collection. He's got that little Valiant gasser wagon that's on my Instagram page. Uh, anyway, he had a 440 for sale, and it was a '68 440. So I went down and I bought it, and it was a running engine. And I had just taken it and dropped it off to Gary when COVID hit big time. And Gary's 75 years old, and his wife's got some health issues. She's older too. So suddenly I'm like, well, I better not just, considering what I do for a living, I don't need to be tracking in and out of their lives and putting them at risk. So for well over a year, I just haven't had any contact with them. Um, I've been meaning to call and stuff, but things happen and life goes on. And then I thought, well, I'll just focus on this car for now since I had all the parts. I got it at that other shop and I started stripping stuff and trying to get it ready where we could get it for assembly. So I kind of forgot all about the 440, but it's a '68 440. It had the steel, uh, the forged crank, LY rods, and had a Torquer 2 intake on it. And he kept the carburetor off of it, but it had a deep sump oil pan. It had a little bit of a cam in it, I think, but it was a pretty original engine. It's in the video of mine titled "Got One Too Indie Me Too." Um, I have a picture that a little video snippet of the engine running that he had sent me before I bought the engine. And part of me is pissed off. I probably should have just cleaned that in and just dropped it right in the satellite. I've got a 720 mission, and you know it seemed to run better than the 318 that's in my car now. But it's like, oh, we had the one awesome engine build, so take it to Gary and have him build it again. And he took it apart, but then two projects afloat. It's like the money that I could try to spend to build the 440 on this, I could spend on this to get this finally running, vice versa. You know, part of the reason I started calling this Plan B is because that was Plan A. If you notice, everything's all matchy matchy, silver black, silver black, silver black. Everything, the QA1 front suspension, the Caltrack bars, the intake fuel injection system, everything that I bought was originally supposed to go into the satellite. Uh, Pretty nice, and I just didn't want to cut it up. So um, I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I would have been really upset, because we got this car started and then it got pushed aside, and then it sat. It didn't get finished. Well, I would hate that to have happened to that car, because right now it's so nice having a car that I can take out and drive and cruise. That's definitely one thing that gets you through the hobby, is being able to drive something. I'd actually talked to Just Mopar Joe when he got those load of parts. I wanted to buy that 400 from him. It was a 400 block. Uh, he had a reasonable price on it, and I was thinking about buying it, but we wound up having to replace our air conditioner, and then we got a window that we're going to replace, and a bunch of household responsibilities coming up. Yeah, yeah. I really like the one you were out driving the other day, Johnny Mopar. Like I said, you got to do a walk around of your '68 Coronet, because that thing's beautiful. And it sounds mean. It would be so cool to have your '70 Cornet wagon to pull this on a trailer. That would be pretty badass. 615 Customs talked about a 225 with a straight six and three on a tree. I used to get to deliver groceries out into the country at Hy-Vee in Sioux Falls when people would put the wrong orders in the car when people would go through drive up, because the catering van was a manual transmission, and nobody knew how to drive a manual. And I said I could, but then I got in there and it was on the column, and can't remember if it was a Ford. I think it was a Ford van. But anyway, I could drive a stick, but I had no idea the shifting pattern. So, I'm thinking one, two, three, but it turns out it was one, two, and then up and over, and then around like an H pattern, three. So it took like about a mile or two with some stoplights to figure out the shift pattern on the three on the tree. But once I did, it was a lot of fun. I really like it. I manually shift this car a lot with the um, column shift. I just drop her down low one, and then I just keep my hand there. And then as I'm driving, I'll just tap, tap. Actually, the satellite, since it's a column shift, my transmission here is a Cope Street Pro Street race transmission. It's built to handle about 650 horsepower, and it's a reverse manual valve body transmission. And the fact that the reverse manual valve body was originally kind of built for column shift cars, so that way you're not shifting toward neutral or park. That instead of like low one, low two drive, if I put that transmission in it, I would have to manually shift it, but then it would be low one, low two drive, and that'd be really cool. So uh, if I get rich and can buy a trans brake transmission for this engine, I'd like to put this one in the satellite behind my 440 with the 373 gears. Tales from the Junkyard was talking. I was going to say Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Junkyard. I was talking about 440 that they put in a Super B clone. Took three core engines. Yeah. Yeah, I bet with the three on the tree, not too many people would ask to borrow it. It was fun. I only ground the gears a couple of times before I kind of figured it out. Um, I don't know if that's the same shift pattern on all three on the trees, but on that van, it was one, two, and then up and down for. Hey, Rapid Transit. No, I can't even really sell this car, and it's not because I wouldn't want to. So I've told people when I bought this car, it's basically bought as a parts or a race car. It doesn't have a title. I've downloaded the papers to do an abandoned title on it, and then I've also looked in what I need to do a bonded title. When I bought the car, a guy gave me the title that came with the car is for a 1970 Super Bee that was crashed, and the title's open and it's signed by the original owner, but that's illegal as hell. So I'm gonna take that title, I'm gonna frame it, and I'm gonna use it as wall art. I have no intentions of ever sending it along with this car, but because this car as the title issue, I just can't sell it. Otherwise, I hate to say it, but I probably would have sold it by now. I would have taken it to Mopars in the park. And man, the prices they were getting there for things way worse than this. Oh my God. I sure would like that money. So your 68 Cornet is a manual valve body on the column. Yeah, when I'm driving the Silent, like I said, it's a two barrel, so it doesn't have the pickup that you normally would by kicking down a four barrel. So a lot of times I'll just manually shift it. It's my pretend four barrel, and it's a lot of fun. But it is really nice just to put it in drive and just take off and not have to worry about shifting when you're drinking a coffee because there's no cup holders in these cars, and with the bench seat, there's nowhere that you can set the cup. Yeah, as far as I've taken all the pictures. I've taken all the pictures of all the VINs, the one on the cowl, and the one on the trunk is roached because the trunk gutter is rusted. So I don't have that one. But the inside door here has all the VIN stuff, and the dash has all the VIN stuff. The car doesn't have its fender tag though. But yeah, I might reach out to you, Johnny, to see, like maybe it's the same process here in Minnesota, but if you just got like some tips on how you actually do it, I might hit you up on figuring out how to do that. Because ultimately, the dream goal was always to be able to take this car to drag week, or drag week is my Super Bowl. Anytime that comes up, I go to YouTube and there's like 8 hours all day long of just drag week, and I just sit there and I watch all of it. I don't think I would ever win anything, but I would definitely like to take this car and meet some of the people that I see there on a regular basis. Yeah, Rabbit Transit, I don't know. Yeah, I've got VIN, and it's like I said, it's on the cowl and it's on the door. Uh, I tried doing a VIN search, but modern VINs have a lot more numbers than the older cars, so you can't really search a VIN. But the title seems to be clear from everything that I've checked. And then what state again is that Rabbit Transit? Are you in Wisconsin? Yeah, yeah, it's really important that I hold on to my coffee. Actually, it's sitting over there, and I have a sudden jonesing for it, even though it's room temperature. I've always said my greatest skill as a ER nurse is learning how to drink room temperature coffee. Yeah, I don't know why some states make it so hard. I know too, like if someone had sold this car as a salvage vehicle, a lot of the salvage yards take the titles and they destroy them. So I don't know if that sometime in the past of this car had happened, and it was sold as a salvage vehicle, and then the title was scrapped. Either way, it'll make a drag car. Um, just it would be nice. I'm not going to want to drive it on the street anyway. It's not really going to be street friendly. It wouldn't be bad to take it for a putz around the neighborhood a little bit, once in a while without worrying about it. Or, like I said, taking it to an event like Drag Week. Anyway, I'm going to jump and grab that cold coffee. So I could run some plans by you guys too. The front torsion bars on this thing, if I remember right, there's either a gash in one or one's bent. So I know that I'm not going to be able to use torsion bars. I've got a set of 440 torsion bars over here. Um, I was originally going to swap those into the satellite when we put the 440 in it, and then this was a 318 car, so it's got the smaller torsion bars. So I was going to take those and put them in the satellite or the Cornet. The Cornet was a 318 car too. I know they're a little bit smaller diameter, and it's the matter of getting the front end weight transfer to shift to the back. With the Caltrax, they want about 5 inches of travel, so figured the weaker the torsion bars, and those are like the original 1968. And I adjusted the torsion bar adjusters because right now my car is raked pretty good, and it looks all right that way. But I like the 70s kind of higher front end. So I was thinking about at one point I adjusted them up, but it seems like it's back down again. So hopefully, if I get the bigger torsion bars in there and some new torsion bar adjusters, um, I can get that front up and get that kind of high boy look that I like on the satellite. Yeah, talking about cars that are gone. The 23rd here, I'm thinking about going down to see my mom in Southern Illinois and go to my uncle's junkyard. And last time I was there, he took us out to eat, and he teased me and said that he would give me that. He has a Super Bee there. Sorry, I heard something up in the corner. But anyway, he told me he would give me the Super Bee that I used to play in out in his junkyard, and I was looking at Google Earth of his junkyard, and it's grown exponentially. And the area that that car used to sit, from my memory, looks like it's pretty haggard and worn down. But anyway, I've got a free Super Bee. I can't even remember what year it was, but it was wrecked. And it's probably gone back to Earth. But it was funny because my uncle doesn't give anything away. He would sell you your own shoes if he could get away with it. So that's why he's pretty much a millionaire. There was a 69 GTO there too with the Endura front end, and it got hit in the front, and the Endura front end was like at a 90-degree angle. And it's a shame too because it was that Verado green metallic, which is a beautiful color. And the rest of the car was pretty nice when it got brought there, but it had the front end damage. Yeah, Johnny Mopar. But what you and I think are yard art, Minneapolis suburbanites do not. But yeah, he's got mostly big trucks. He wound up kind of converting to more like of a truck sales, and then eventually he got into the scrapping business. At one point, he had came up to Minneapolis and was actually looking to buy a car crusher. So I don't even know if he's hauled some of those older cars that he used to have that I thought were really cool. He had a '69 Firebird back there that was wrecked. He had the Super B. He had the GTO. Um, I think there's probably like some Chevelles and Novas and stuff there too. But uh, when I was a kid, I was going to save them all. He used to laugh because we lived in St. Louis, and then whenever we came down there, I was the one that would go out into the junkyard first thing in the morning, and they'd have to almost drag me back into the house because I'd spend all my time back there. One time I thought I was doing him a favor, and I went and I took all the keys out of the ignitions and I put them in a bucket and I brought them to him. And he got pissed off. And he's like, "What do you think I do? You know, I sell these cars. I can't sell an ignition that doesn't have a key. So you need to go." And I had to go and try to put the keys in the ignitions and find the keys that worked with the ignitions and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people probably think it's weird drinking coffee this time of night. But I go back to work Friday and I work overnight shifts. So trying to ease back into the overnights. I usually stay on the same schedule. I usually go to bed around 3 on my days off, 3 in the morning. Yeah, the hardest part about when I go down there, I always have the intentions of going to his junkyard. It's in Norris City, Illinois, and my mom, uh, her town that she lives in is about 20 miles away, and I don't get to see my mom very often. So when I go, I want to make sure I spend all the time I can with her. To steal just one of those days that I go down to visit, to go out there and run through the junkyard. It just kind of, I hate to take that time away from spending with my mom. This last time here, or the time coming up here, my sister was going to go with me, and that was cool because then her and my sister could go shopping or something, and then I could sneak off. But right now, it sounds like my sister's not going to be able to go. So, but yeah, he's got a building out there that has a bunch of engines in it too. So I don't know what all he has for engines, and then yeah, he used to have rows of like specific vehicles. Um, like I said, the part that had a lot of the older junk cars is probably the oldest and the least utilized part of his junkyard, and seems to be the most kind of overgrown area right now. He's more or less into scrapping now. He laughed and said, if I want $20,000, I load up a truck, take it in. Otherwise, he'd have to pay taxes on it. So he's just like, that's his bank out there. Yeah, I was watching Rabbit Transit's video, and he was transmission that was in his Dart. I think it is. That was you, wasn't it? Um, and then how he has the overdrive in it, which really makes it a fun street car. Um, Cope Racing Transmissions on their website has a racing version with a trans brake of the 518, and they have an adapter to make it fit a big block. I don't know how much parasitic power loss a person would get, like with a some sort of a device that adapts or not. But basically, I heard that the 518 is a 727. And the only thing that's different, I know Chris Birdsong on one of his videos, he was actually going to cut the bell housing and then weld the big block part onto the 518 so that he could bolt it up and then have an overdrive on one of his cars. But then he wound up putting manual transmissions and everything, I think. There was a 518 for sale in Rochester not too long ago that I kind of watched back when uh, you could still go onto Craigslist and stuff. You still can. It's just that it seems like nobody's really posting anything anymore, which I don't like Facebook Marketplace. It's for me, I don't know if it's just I never have good luck just searching for specific things. It always throws all kinds of junk that I don't want in my searches, and it takes me forever to get around to seeing if there's anything that is anything close to what I'm searching for. Yeah, that's definitely if this was going to be drag week type car, I would think that that would be almost a better route to go. I don't think I think a gear vendor's by itself is almost $2,000 by the time you hook it up and everything. It's even more. Bouchalian makes a plate. Definitely going to look into it once. I just been dragging my rear end. Sometimes like I get really motivated, and then part of it is now that I got to be careful when I can make noise. Both me and my wife work nights, so I was up today by like 11 o'clock in the morning, and she's sleeping, so she's got to work at 7, 8 o'clock. So she's going to be sleeping for until about 4, even if she goes to the gym. And the master bedroom's right above this garage, so I can't get out my electric grinder with the wire wheel on it and continue to get rid of a lot of the surface rust under here because she's sleeping. And then by the time she wakes up and gets ready and goes to work, it's about 6, 7 o'clock at night. And that's when everybody in the cul-de-sac starts getting home. Um, so I do have like a window of about like 3 to 4 hours there where I'll run my air compressor or use my loud tools. But then I try to shut it down by like 8:30 because I don't want to be waking the neighbors. Even when I was doing the rear end on the car, I tried to do all the loud stuff during that time. And then at night, I figured, as long as I wasn't clanging tools around and stuff, but I was probably pushing it. Yeah, $3,500. I think that's almost the price of that Cope transmission, the 518 with the trans brake. I think all in it would be about 3,500 to almost 4,000. Hey, John Wilburn, what's up, man? Is it you're going live at midnight, John? It's nice of you to stop by. I'm a night person, and like I said today, I was just bored. I was just either going to be watching TV. I finally got around to watching Breaking Bad, and then I finally finished that the other night, and then watched El Camino. So nothing else looks good on TV. Oh, okay. Must be in a slightly different time zone because it's 11 here. But where are you at, John? Are you like must be a little bit east? I know Johnny's on the West Coast, so it's probably not even 10 o'clock there. About 10, Virginia. Yeah. The worst part about this whole YouTube thing is you meet really cool guys, and it'd be so fun to just hang out, but everyone's all over the country. You know, I know like Mopar Nut 62's in New Jersey, Johnny's in California. There's guys down in like some of them aren't too far from my mom actually because she's more centrally located. So when I go to see my mom, I'm like, it'd only be about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go visit Adam at Hoosier Garage, and I think just Mopar Joe's a little under 4 hours away from my mom. And I love to drive, but as I said, whenever I go down there, I spend all my time with my mom and wind up not breaking away and see anybody else. I probably just need to schedule like an extra day or something where I'm gonna go before I actually go to my mom's. Hey, Chris, Central Indiana. Yeah, you're in Hoosier country. Yeah. Yeah, whenever I used to fly from Minneapolis to go down to see my mom, and I would fly from Minneapolis, Chicago, and then go to Evansville, Indiana, and to drive to my mom's from Evansville is like an hour, hour and a half. So she could pick me up. It's a small airport, so you didn't have to worry about getting lost, or and it's not in like flying into St. Louis where she'd have to go downtown St. Louis. Yeah. Flat and sketchy. Yeah. Hey, Robin. But yeah, I was also looking too in the past when I've like talked to Jed and that Kansas is about a 6 7 hour drive from here. Yeah, Tales from the Junkyard sounds cool. Yeah, I've briefly started looking into it. I'd thought about it in the past, and then when I saw Rapid Transit's short video that he did on his Dart that has it, it made me think of it again. So I kind of started going back online and looking up those parts to make that happen. The only thing I would be worried about right now is my dynamic converter. Um, I would be worried about all the spacing that would be need to do because I remember they even asked me if I was running a mid plate. And this engine, when it came out of the mud truck, actually had a motor plate on the front, and we removed it when we built this engine. But because of the horsepower this engine makes, I kind of thought that when we do the roll bars here, maybe setting up engine plate on this car. I know when I took the, I always get them confused, flex plate, flywheel, flex plate off of the this engine. It had a spacer on it for the mid plate because the mud truck ran a mid plate and an engine front mounting plate. Uh, so I don't know if I could still run that converter and then put that little shim in there like that one had. Uh, that's just stuff that I don't know. And that converter was a little spendy, so yeah, it's always funny when people like say, "Oh, you're from this state. Well, how about do you know anyone from here?" And it's like, "Well, that's about 350 miles from me. It's a big state, you know." the fun part of all this is it was fun setting all this up next to the car, like I said, to kind of motivate myself. But now I got to put it all back in the boxes and put the boxes away. And then I'm going to load some big stuff into the back of my truck to take to my storage unit. There you are, Moparnet 62. It's not a live stream if I don't have you on here, man. Yeah. Yeah, I was just putzing around. I was bored to death. For those of you guys that don't know, Moparnet 62 is my phone a friend. When I was doing that rear end swap and I was having trouble getting the drum off the passenger side, I texted him and he gave me some pointers. And yeah, Moparnet 62, when I got the brake all back together and I lost my brakes, it was because that one wasn't adjusted right. So when I took it in, all they had to do was get it. I got it all put back together the way it was supposed to, but I couldn't. I kept forgetting which way to turn the adjuster wheel, and with the wheel closed up, I had no idea, and it was such a pain in the ass with the super stock springs because the spring pack is like that thick, and then the slot to stick your tool in to move the adjuster wheel. It just I couldn't get an angle in there. There's no way I could get any light in there, and just anyway, the brakes are working perfect now. They work better than they ever did, and they didn't replace any components. It had good shoes and everything on it. So, and she brakes hard for manual drum brake. Good night, John Wilburn. Yeah. Yeah, Chris Testa is from Testa Speed Shop is going to be out at Carlisle, and man, I wish I could have made that happen. That'd have been really cool. He's one of the YouTubers that I'd really like to hang out with sometime. If you guys haven't seen Testa's Speed Shop, check him out. He's working on his buddy's 68 Cornet. He's got a badass Chevelle and a really cool 69 Firebird. Yeah, to be honest, I do think I might, because a budget, just stay with the drum brakes on this car. I did look at getting some like 11-inch drums, and I don't know if it's safe to run 10-inch drums on the front and 11s on the back. Uh, but when I was watching Uncle Tony's Garage, he's an advocate of drum brakes on a drag car, and he mentioned how they're lighter weight than the brake assembly, and you really only have to hit the brakes hard once when you're slowing down. And this car is not going to be seeing high quartering, a lot of highway travel. I mean, basically, it's going to go to a track, run, and have to slow down and stop. So I thought, if nothing else, just rebuild the drum brake setup on this car. It's going to be scary, but I mean, on paper, this car should run low tens. If we get it around 3,400 pounds and you do one of the calculators and everything works out perfect, and it should run low tens. So I don't know if that's too fast for drums, but I wouldn't be against upgrading and getting like a bigger brake booster or something. Hmm, yeah, yeah. Whenever I take the old satellite out, uh, it stops perfectly fine with the drum brakes, especially now. Like I said, they're pretty solid. But whenever I'm driving that car, I'm driving it like I would when I had my Harley. I've got constant peripheral like over awareness of all the vehicles around me. Um, when I'm going down the highway in that car, I really don't like to go above 65. Um, Used to do it all day long in a car like that in high school. I would have pegged it and tried to go 100 and 110 miles an hour in it, but you get used to like your built-in structure, roll structure of a car, modern car, and when you realize how skinny the A pillars and everything are on that car, and then you've just got a lap belt because it's 1968. You don't even have the choice to wear the shoulder harness and stuff. It gets a little hairy, especially when other people are driving like 90 miles an hour and they're zipping by you and whizzing around you in the city. So, Rapid Transit, those 13-inch disc rotors. Oh, 1970 Cornet fenders are all over the place. And they're cheap too. Okay, so cool. You are running drums and you get a few hits in before you start to get break fade. Yeah. Like I said, I don't really plan to beat the living shit out of this thing. Um, it's going to take me a while to learn how to drive a car as fast as it might be. Um, I figured the way I'll do is I'll first just kind of work on, doing a burnout and staging. And then once I kind of get that down, I'll work on just kind of like trying to launch like a 60 foot. And then if that feels good, then I'll start doing like, each increment after that, not going wide open for the full quarter mile, just slowly learning how to launch a car, learn how it feels when it launches, and then like gradually like step it up and then eventually get to where I can run it all the way out through the quarter. And then if I did a drag week event, I'd probably just run it down the track maybe once or twice a day. I would try to do just once a day because this car would never be competitive. I would never have to worry about winning a drag week. Um, like I said, when I built this car, I had planned it out to be able to compete in the big block stock suspension, no power adder category. Um, with that, I'm allowed to run the QA1 front suspension because I'm still running torsion bars, and I could run the Caltrack bars because it's a leaf spring car, and you were allowed for a unibody car to have subframe connectors. But the question was, back when I looked, I think you could even have the car mini tubbed, which this one is. Um, but then I think the last time I looked, they wanted to make that a modified. If you had it mini tubbed, I'd have to get a download of the um, rules for 2021. And my what would be really cool is if I actually did get this car running for duct tape drags and was able to get down there. I would hope that maybe David Freiberger might be drawn to the car just because he has a Super B and it's kind of beat to shit, and give him a heads up that I want to go to drag week. I know that they pretty much let anyone in that gets there, but yeah. But basically, if you got to get there and then be able to run the car, but I just wanted to go and see people and hang out. Adam, what's up, man? You're up late. I was watching your where you painted the turn signals. video just recently. I got a couple of your other videos I got to catch up on, some of the longer ones, but I've actually got some green clear paint, and I've got some old glass headlights that were taken out of the Cornet. And what I want to do is my inner headlights, I want to paint those green. So Moparnet62, do you ever watch VinWiki on YouTube? They're a bunch of rich guys that do the cannonball runs. But it's kind of fun to watch and listen to all the tech and all the stuff that they do to their cars to be able to take them and run them across the country. The sad part is setting a car like this up to do a cross country race. Um, it's going to get attention. You know, they usually would run cars that are pretty generic looking. Yeah, Adam. I actually there's a guy that I am addicted to buying front bumpers for this 70 Cornet. I got one that I'm going to use as wall art, and then I've got one with all the brackets, and then I bought another one with all the brackets because it actually has the plastic splash shields that go between the bumper and the front fenders. Plus, never hurts to have two complete front assemblies. Let me show you here. Oops, trying to there. Got one down there on the floor. But anyway, I forget what I was talking about. But anyway, I bought that one from a guy here who's prominent on the 70 Coronet Super B page on Facebook. His name's Chris Tuma. And he was on my Shake a Hand, Make a Friend video who showed me how to take off the drip rail. Anyway, when I bought that front bumper for him, he's got a F8 green Super B and he's got the green headlights on the inside. So I already know how it looks, and it looks pretty cool. When I do the Lexan windows, I thought about getting yellow Lexan windows. And then if I did do script on the rear quarter panel, I was thinking about doing it in like gold metallic, plan B on the rear quarters. The hood will be black. The rest of the car will be the same. And yeah, I love the front bumpers. I always have. My biggest issue with the 70 Cornet was these triangle windows. They they're so 1968, which I love them on the 68. But there's a guy, the same one who's got the Hornet. Um, I'll put a link to one of his videos in one of my videos. He's got Tommy S, I think is, or Tom S is his YouTube channel. He's from Germany, I think. I don't know. I don't want to get that wrong. But he's got Lexan windows and he's done away with the triangle window. And it just makes the hood line and the whole car look a lot more modern, like I think it should have from the factory. But you can't blame them because that's been the same door. You know, it was easier just to leave it in. But yeah, there's a certain angle if you look at a 70 Coronet and if it's got the skinny wheels on the back and you kind of have it like where the front's this way and it's angled this way, there's a weird sharpness of the roof line that doesn't match the swoopiness of the front fenders and the rear fenders. But if you got meats on the back, for some reason, it really fills out the car and I don't notice it much. It's kind of optical illusion. I love the vent windows. Unfortunately, I opened the one on my driver's side of my satellite, and ever since I closed it, it rattles on the inside of the door now. So whenever I do a driving video in my car, if you listen, there's a like little screech or like a little squeak. I one time took like some paper and I folded it a bunch of times and I kind of wedged it in there, and that kind of did away with the rattle for a little bit. Yeah, but if I'm running the black hood, um, And then I like when I'm driving around, I run the black wheels. You know, like the dark tinted windows would look good. But because I kind of want to do the vintage thing, um, I thought like the yellow plexiglass and like I said, the gold script. I'm having a hard time finding rear wheels. I want 15 by 12. And right now, these are 15 by 10s with 5.5 inch backspace. And the inside of the wheel is perfect for the mini tubs with the narrow Dana. And I've got almost 3 to 4 finger, about like however much that is between the wheel and the outer wheel opening now. So like this is the outer wheel opening and this is the section width of the tire. So I've got a shit ton of outside room. These wheels actually look kind of sucked in from certain angles, and they're 295 65 Rs. Um, so the 15 by 12 would bring it out that much. And if I run the Hoosier 29.5 by 1150 slick, it's got a 15.5 inch section width that should fill out that fender well. But I can't find, I would love to find a set of Kragers that had the 5.5 inch backspace, but they're all like 4 1/4. But Bogart Wheels makes a new wheel called the Bolted Fly. Hold on a second. And they're pretty much exact replicas of the Super Tricks. And I've got 15 by 10s of these, uh, but they have a 6 inch backspace, and that's almost too much. It would bring it in. I would have to check it out, but I think that 6 inch backspace would put a thicker sidewall into my tub. But I always kind of like the Super Tricks a little bit better than the center lines because they kind of have this gentle bow out, you know, like kind of a rounded edge. But Bogart Wheels makes a bolted fly, which is an exact duplicate of this of the Super Trick, and you can custom order them to a custom width. So I was going to contact them and see about getting some 15 by 12s with 5 inch backspace. And Gary Hedden had built a blue supercharged Hemi 1970 GTX. And if you search the internet, you'll probably run across it. It's a beautiful car. It's got the side stripe. It's got blue interior. He had his wheels. They were the weld wheels though, but he had them anodized the same color blue as his car. So if I was going to go with the yellow windows, I thought it would be kind of cool to maybe anodize the wheels gold. So you'd have like gold wheels, yellow windows, and a green car. Because even if I were to do the work on this car, I would like to paint it green. Um, I would be between the F4 or the F5, 69 F5 green. Or would be like my favorite choices. Um, yeah, and they've got the caulking in here too, so that they don't leak air. But yeah, these are nice and thin, and yeah, they're super light. And on the 15 by 10s, it actually says on there for race use only because of the lightweight. But yeah, I got a set of these for a really good price, and I didn't realize how expensive the center caps were. He didn't have the center caps, and when I would go on like Craigslist and stuff like that, there are people that were asking like $149 just for the Krager center caps. And then it's kind of like a show and tell here. So when I bought that front bumper assembly down there from Chris Tuma, he also sold me that other green door that's kind of got a dent on the bottom, but it's solid and rust free. I was telling him and teasing him that, like, you know, he had some centerline street super tricks on his coronet, and I was teasing him. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, you can't even get the center caps anymore. He gave me these. They're not perfect, but two of them are like the same color. So if you put them, I don't know if you can tell, the blue's a little bit different, but Anyway, and they're not perfect. They got dents and stuff in them and that, but man, those are really cool. And the fact that he just gave them to me, I told him, you know how much you can get those, you can get for those on Craigslist, and he's like, yeah. And that's what I like when you're talking to really cool car guys. But anyway, when I get the Prager, or if I do get those Bogart wheels, I was going to ask him if the opening was the same because I'd still love to run the Krager SST center caps. When I went to Mopars in the Park, I almost took these wheels and put them in Ryan Barsness's booth to see if anybody was going to want to buy them. But if anything else, they'll be wall art too. Um, they're not perfect; they're kind of scuffed up, but they totally fit the way the car looks now. So if I had a brand new set, they're going to look kind of goofy on this car. Oh, and Adam, you weren't here earlier, but when I was talking, if we do graft that scoop onto, um, I think I was talking to you, but I wanted to, like, I was going to do the hood matte black, but what I'd like to do is paint. I got the same F4 green, paint the hood like mostly that green, and then tape down. It's like one giant stripe on the hood that kind of comes forward and into the V of the hood, and then goes around the scoop, but then it kind of comes up that ramp of the scoop before the opening, and then put lace down, and then paint matte black over it, so that you have like a green lace kind of single stripe that goes there. And then this hood's too patinaed right now, but if I was ever to paint the car, I would follow the lace stripe over the hood and then over the trunk. Um, when I was at that Mopars in the Park this year, that blue 69 Hemi RT 70s car had like kind of a lace paint job on it, and I really like that. That's one of the reasons I took kind of an aerial view of the roof and the hood, because that theme was kind of covered over the top. Yeah, but do the Moroso valve covers give you enough clearance for your rockers on the 270 heads? Because I got the it's got the comp can steel roller rockers on it. They're not offset like the Victors or anything. They're standard. Yeah, smoke the lace in. Yeah, not just paint the whole hood down, but I don't know. Would you do the matte black first, then put the lace down, and then kind of smoke the lace over the top of the black, or would you do the green and then put the lace over the top, and then kind of, and then I know I was watching Cold War Motors when they were painting that van, and all the different layers and steps that it took to do all the different kind of paint tricks, the lace and stuff on it. It was pretty amazing. I wouldn't want to get that carried away. But if I went crazy, it, you can get fiberglass front fenders for this car. I could probably get um, fiberglass doors, and then you can get rear quarters for this. So really, I mean, you'd be doing a lot of fitting and gapping and all that stuff. I don't know if you'd be money ahead saving metal work versus fiberglass work. But if this was going to be a full time drag car, and then I could paint the whole car in a 70s style. Uh, to start somebody locked up or not. things there. Some stuff. Oops. Gonna have a catastrophe here, guys. Did I lose you guys? Anybody still there? Okay. I don't know if you could see those valve covers. I was trying to move my whole computer over there because I don't have enough subscribers to be able to do live from a phone. But originally, those were the valve covers on the stroker motor, and they got oil or something on them. We cleaned them really good, but then when Gary went to paint them black like the engine, they ran. So he thought, well, I'll just put the crinkle cut or crinkle spray over them. So he did that. Well, there was still a reaction to the paint, so they kind of look a little bit melted. Um, but for right now, with the way the car looks, it kind of fits. Otherwise, I was going to get some new valve covers and just paint those black. Um, did it get any better, or is it still hopping? Okay, yeah, but I want to get uh, the air grabber type air cleaner for it, um, and then run the taller oval filter, and then I was going to paint that matte black to match the matte black valve covers. I wouldn't have to worry about hood clearance if I do the scoop. I had talked to Gary about splicing the fiberglass hog snout mold on there and then making that up higher and then making the scoop part, the openings, making those taller too, in order to be able to fit an air cleaner under there. Because he used to do some fiberglass work and stuff in the past, but I think with the scoop, I know on his duster, he built a custom like aluminum plate underneath with like the foam around it that sealed to the hood so that the hood scoop was actually a functional ram air. So I might just have him make a custom one of those too for the pro stock hood. Right now, I got the engine set up with my 2-inch spacer on there, and that's when the engine made its most power. Um, I think if I ran it without the spacer, it might fit under the hood with a thinner air cleaner, like the hood that's on there now. But that's the other proponent or the other reason I'd like to run the pro stock hood is because I can have that on there. Rapid Transit, VFN actually has fenders. There's a couple places that make the front fenders for these because a lot of people build Superbird clones, and you can get the Superbird front kit, but VFN and I forget who the other company is that makes these. It's about 750 to $900 depending on which one you buy for both front fenders. But I could probably sell these for $500-600 or more to make up the difference. And then the doors are the same doors as on any 68 through Dodge or Plymouth. So yeah, it is getting pretty late. Looks like it's almost midnight here. Wild Rose Garage. Well, now I got to stay on for a while. Dude, I'm glad to have you here. For those of you who haven't seen Wild Rose Garage, he's kind of the Oldsmobile guy. Yeah. I know he had, was it like a 488 stroker in a G body a while back that was just really badass. That car really hauled. Not right now, he's building a 425 that he's got in a G body that he's doing kind of on a budget. That's a really wicked car. Yeah, Johnny Mopar, glad you had a chance to stop by. Like I said, I am myself. I got to put all this stuff away so when the wife gets home, she can park in the garage and kind of organize things so that I can load it up and take it to the storage space tomorrow. But if any of you are still on here and you haven't checked out Wild Rose Garage, go check out his channel. He's got some really good hands-on stuff. Got a really cool car. Yeah, whenever you're buying fiberglass parts, I guess you're always kind of at the mercy. This hood, I was worried. Part of the reason I went and got my fenders out of storage and put them on the car was because I'd had the hood for almost a year and I'd never had it on the car, and I was just kind of worried because that hood has got so many odd shapes to it, and it looks like where the hood ramps down on the sides and the front does match the fenders pretty damn good. So I'm pretty pleased for the quality and fit of the hood that I got. And that was from US Auto Body. And I had heard some pretty shady things about them, but it actually turned out pretty good. In hindsight, I wish I would have just got a flat one and then got a hood molded to it. You can get the hood that has the 6-pack scoop on it, but I've seen other vehicles with that and they look good. But I wanted something a little bit different. And originally I was thinking, like, oh, just make it look like a mild, oh, there's a fly, um, just a typical flat Super B hood. But once I saw that Pro Stock scoop on there, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to have that now. Yeah, I love the Pro Tracks. Now that I got the Super Stock springs on there, I want to take the 15 by 10s that are on this and put the Pro Tracks on those because on the 15 by 8s, they're kind of cupping a little bit. Um, I think I got the clearance now for the center section that if I put it on the 15 by 10, plus the 15 by 10 is not really going to make the section width anymore. It's just going to flatten them out a little bit. It shouldn't make the tire that much wider where it's going to rub. So I think I'm good. This rear end's 5/16 narrower too. So I think that might have given me enough clearance where I can take the Pro Tracks off of that 15 by 8s and put them on the 15 by 10s. And because I love the deep dish look. And then the Pro Tracks got the perfect. I don't like the way I've got the old style bulgy front Pro Tracks. I noticed that there's a more modern front tire that's Pro Track. The one I got's more for like street rods, I think. So it's got a narrow tread width and it's got the bulgy sidewalls. So when you turn, it's kind of like beach balls on the front. So I got to replace those, but those damn tires are, I think it's like $325 for the two tires that I looked at for the front. And right now, $325 would get me that much closer to getting this thing running as opposed to just buying another set of tires and these are working. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of running into. I haven't put enough miles on the car to wear out the center section on my 15 by 8s. The fronts look good, and the main reason I chose those was because they're 28-inch tall, like the rear tire. Um, I on that car, I don't really want like a tiny 26-inch tall tire in the front and then the big meats in the back. Plus, right now my car's got a little bit too much rake for me. I would love to bring the front end up. I like the old 70s style with a little bit higher front end. I'm not into the lowered cars. And right now my front, even though I raised it a while back using the torsion bar adjustment, it's got too much of a low front end. But yeah, I'm going to leave those tires for now because of money wise. Hey, Rabbit Transit. I'm thankful for anybody who took the time to stop in. Like I said, I wasn't expecting anybody. Just cool when you get a bunch of car guys on here and you can chat. I don't ever get to the track. I don't know. I was going to take the 318 bars, torsion bars out of the satellite and put them on here, and then put my 440 brand new torsion bars on the satellite. And then the satellite's got the modern, run of the super stock springs. I always thought the super stock springs would actually kind of make the car kind of crooked, but mine is pretty even. And anyway, so I've heard bad things about the new um, super stock springs, but I kind of wanted to do old school stuff on the satellite. I was going to get a pinion snubber with the super stock springs, and then just a kind of an old school 440 build, with the forged crank LY rods, and then like a purple cam. And then, it'd be kind of my old school hot rod versus this car that's got the QA1 front, the Caltrax, the stroker. um, as far as like, I there was a picture of a Sox and Martin Roadrunner clone in one of my Mopars in the park, either 2019 video. But it had kind of the high boy stance, the street freak. It was kind of higher in the back and high in the front. Um, Ultimately, I'd like my satellite to kind of look like that. I don't know if it would help at the track or not, but that's going to be more of a hot rod cruiser as opposed to this one. It's going to be a functional race car that's going to need the front end travel, like the 5-inch front end travel, to be able to hook the Caltrax. And yeah, cool tow vehicle would be nice, but my truck's pretty nice too. When I pulled that, I want to get one of those trailers like I rented to bring this home. It was a tilt trailer, and it had the powered tilt and remote control winch. And if I had that, I could haul and move my cars all by myself without ever needing anybody else. So ultimately, I'd like to get one of those trailers, but you're looking at almost 8 grand for a trailer, and then it pulled real nice behind my truck. And but yeah, it would be cool to have. There was that 70 satellite wagon for $6,000 at Mopars in the park this last year. That would have been an awesome car to make into a tow trailer. It's kind of ratty looking, put a nice torquey V8 in it, and then a trailer hitch, and then pull this car. That would be wicked. Plus, like I was talking to Johnny Mopar on here, he's got that 70 Coronet wagon. Yeah, finding an old school wagon. It would be cool too to put a trailer hitch on the satellite and then pull, but I don't know that it's still, I think, as if I get the trailer I want, that's a heavy trailer, and then put this car on there, even though it might only be about 3,400 pounds, that's going to be a lot to ask for an old car to pull. So, hey, Useful Entertainment, what's up, man? Marty, I'm just up and awake on my night shift here. Yeah, the trailer I'm looking at, it's definitely got the haul spec. The one I rented was like a 22 foot, I think. They make that same trailer 16, 18, 20, and 22. I'd be tempted to get the 18 or the 22 or the 20. I think 20 would be perfect. 16 would be the minimum, and even then, I would rather have bigger. So because these cars are 16 feet long. But yeah, the heavier axles, that was more of a utility trailer. Um, it was very heavy, sturdy, and it was all steel. Yeah, I just got the factory snubber on that car now, but the 318 really hasn't caused it to need anything. Um, but I'd like to get one of those adjustable pinion snubbers for when I eventually get the 440 and the satellite, and then try out some of the old school tricks. But if I was going to do that, I'd probably leave the 318 torsion bars in there, so I'd have a little bit weaker front torsion bars with the big block, and then I've got the super stock springs and then the pinion snubber, and then that'd be more like what a lot of guys were running back on the street and the track in the day. Cornet really hasn't come along at all, other than it's taken me 2 years to buy all the parts. I remember I used to pull trailers a lot with tractors and that back when we had horses, and I didn't have much trouble backing them up. And then when I was down in Arizona working, I had bought a 16 by 10 or a 6 by 10 enclosed trailer for my Harley when I had one. And that was a pain in the ass to back up. It always wanted to jackknife. So that kind of took my confidence away. But when I rented the trailer to haul this, I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. Um, Seems like the bigger the trailer, the longer the trailer, the easier it is to back up. But yeah, 20 foot I think is a good catch all. I could always not have to worry about not having a big enough trailer if I ever wound up doing anything else, or if you knew somebody had a truck or something that they needed hauled, um, you'd be able to haul that for them too. Yeah, Marty, I think you work kind of weird shifts like I do. Like I go into my whole week of 12-hour shifts coming this Friday, where I work like 6 out of 7, 12, so I don't have a life. I'm just ending my week off right now. Yeah, it'd be good if you break out the camera. I was watching Chris, his video, test a speed shop, and he was showing the charger that they're going to ride out there in. And that's pretty badass. Yeah. Yeah. If my wife didn't want new windows, I'd be sporting a new trailer right now. But trailers are hard to get right now during all this stuff that's going on in the world. I think the closest one that I could find of the trailer and the brand that I liked was down in Florida. Yeah, that charger's pretty sweet. My satellite, I mean, it looks nice and everything, but boy, that 318, like I said, it's got that knock. The engine's really tired. The transmission, I finally added some transmission fluid to it. I never really checked it before, and I knew it groaned a lot, but when I took the drive shaft out, it leaked some out. So I checked it and it was low. So I added a lot of, like a couple of quarts of transmission fluid in it. Wow, it drives a lot better suddenly. But yeah, the drivetrain's just so tired that it's kind of not fun to drive. I mean, I still do, and when it's all warmed up and it gets going, it's pretty fun ride. But I can't wait to have a fresh drivetrain in it, so it'd be more dependable. But when you see a car like that Charger that those guys are going to take, it's like, man, that car, I bet, the heater works and that kind of stuff. That's what I miss is the satellite looks good, but the heating core is not hooked up. I don't know if it leaked or what, but it's just kind of bypassed. And then, like I said, the other day it was raining really hard, and I was in the car. The car was actually outside, and just sitting in it, there was water falling down behind my dash. And I don't think it's a rust issue because the car doesn't have any visible rusty areas at all in the floor pans, the original floor pan. And I can't imagine that the cowl rotted away. Um, I don't know if there's like when they took, I don't know if they took the dash completely out at one point and then maybe they didn't get the windshield sealed or they never took the windshield out and there is like a little rust spot. But so now I'm not confident driving that car in heavy rain or weather because of the water that spills into the passenger floor pan. The transmission, the engine's really tired. So it's fun to take for little jaunts around here, but eventually I want to have it where it's drivable enough to where I can drive from here to Sioux Falls and back. Um, but it's just, the car was restored in the 90s and set in a pole barn until I bought it in, what was that, 2015, 2014. So it sat more than it ever rode on the road. Yeah, and then my neighbor across the street, he does home remodeling stuff, and he said they've got jobs that they had bidded out that people are now calling them and wanting them to do it for those prices, but they're like, no, we gave that bid a long time ago. We have to rebid it now because of the price of materials now has gone through the roof. There's no way they could do the previous bid based on, the cost of materials. They would lose money. Interesting. Wild Rose. Yeah. Yeah, it shifts clunky. Like I said, the engine stumbles over itself. I think it's even missing. It might be, like running on seven cylinders sometimes, but then other times it's not. I'm not like I don't know how to like tune cars or anything like that. I did buy a new two barrel for it that I'm going to put on there, and then I put a new gas tank in it, so the fuel system's all good. So that should hopefully help with some of the stumbling. Um, I've never checked the cap, the rotor, or any of the timing stuff. I've changed the spark plugs, and it tends to respond well when I do my yearly maintenance on it, but just not dependable enough for me to want to take on a wide open road trip. And it definitely needs all new seals. It could use like new bushings up front because they're the 68 bushings, and it could use all new window rubber and seals. Yeah, Marty, I remember seeing your early videos of your Cordoba. Well, Burnett 62 is a huge Cordoba fan, but yours is a T-top version too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and everything, the 318 is like a new famous engine now. I mean, so many people are into the 318 builds and stuff. Um, and since this is the original engine and it looks so perfect and pristine under there, it is really tempting just to have the 318 overhauled, maybe put a four barrel on it and a mild cam. And she'd be a fun driver with the 373. She'd have plenty of snap. The 440 is just totally gratuitous. But it's something I've always wanted, 68 or 69 Plymouth B body with a 440. I've actually got a Core 727 transmission. If I wound up not using that one, if I put the 440 in the satellite, that I could take in to have rebuilt and put a shift kit in it. Because it would be nice to have a transmission that shifts automatically and has the kick down and everything all set up. So, it drives really nice and then you can kick it down. Yeah, I had a 76 50th anniversary Trans Am. It was the first year for the black and gold, like the Smokey and the Bandit, but it had the round headlights, but it had gold honeycomb wheels. But that was the first year for the T-top Trans Ams. That was pretty fun. Yeah, and your Doba sounds really mean. I every once in a while go back and watch that video of yours, Mopar Nut 62, where you're backing it out. It sounds pretty wicked. I just think that the 318 Magnums were workhorse engines. I don't know much about, like, I think they're a roller cam engine too, aren't they? But they're like the Chevy 350 or the 3800 like V6. You know, they're like the workhorse engine that was built for years because they were really dependable and stuff. I think you could do something with it. Like I said, if I got this 318 running right and then had a decent like transmission behind it, it would be a pretty peppy car. Yeah, I really wish I knew more about what it was like to drive a pretty powerful car because my first car, the 73 Firebird, had a 400 with a quadrajet and a turbo 400, but it was a one wheel wonder and it had like 26-inch tall tires. So it was a black mark lane machine and I could do donuts really easy. Um, and it was pretty peppy. My GTO was pretty darn snappy with the 400 and the 4 speed and the 391 posi. So that was probably the fastest car I ever had. And then that Firebird Formula clone I have on the beginning of my channel, one of my first videos. Um, that car had a 400 with a 4 speed and 373 gears. And it was a lot of fun to drive. It had the synchronizers going out of second. Um, so, like when you'd pull it down into second, you'd have to hold it there before you would shift it up into third. And then otherwise, it'd want to pop out a second. And then the frame, there was something going on there that was all twisted and confabulated that the car always wanted to twist in half. And I just didn't have much faith in it. But I haven't driven anything with a lot of power other than my truck with the LS. So I can't wait to either get this thing running or get the 440 in the satellite so I can feel what it's like to drive a big block, a nice big torquey engine. I beat a 440 with my Pontiac. I think I told that story on my last live stream. Kid had a 71 or 70, it was 71 or 72 Roadrunner, and they'd put a 440 in it, and it had a pro stock scoop like I had on this thing for a little bit, and he had a 440 in it, and my GTO had a Lanati cam, aluminum high rise with a 650 carb, had 4 speed with 391 gears, and I pulled away from him. I just jumped him off the line, and he didn't even catch me. But it's partly because his was an automatic. I don't know if he had a posi rear end or a sure grip rear end in it. I don't know if he just didn't know how to drive, but I crushed him. I can already tell a difference with the 373s in this car. But I'm running a 28-inch tall tire on the satellite, whereas the 373s and the Firebird was on a 26-inch tall tire. So that Firebird, I didn't want to drive. It was happy at about 60 on the freeway, where everyone else is doing 80 to 90. So, but that car was great in the curves and corners and stuff because the um, just the overall style of the second gen Camaros was good for curves. Yeah, I don't know where he got the 440 from. It could have been a smog motor, just had the cubic inches. But I know my Trans Am that I talked about earlier, it was a 76. It had a 400 in it, but I'd be lucky to have like 125 horsepower. It was smogged out. It was a dog. I went for my Firebird, which was kind of a tough car in high school. You know, it's like it would win races, to my Trans Am that I didn't even want to drag race because it just was a pig. Dude, Jed, what are you doing up, man? I should have called. Yeah, I've been up on here long enough to have been a call with you. No, I've been wanting to call you, Jed. I just I just never know when to call you, and I figure you're living the life of a entertainer. You know, if you're around tomorrow, text me sometime. That'd be good to chat if you got time. I'd love to bullshit with you, Scott. Ugh, Jed. I always get this disconnect reading and talking, calling people by their. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Because I'll probably call you tomorrow then, Jed. Bullshit. It's my last day off before I go into my long week of work, and it's been sucking lately. Um, I really like that truck you just picked up, Jed. That sounds pretty cool. I need another hobby, something. My wife would like me to take up home improvement. Maybe retile a bathroom or two. Those swept lines are really growing on me. My buddy Chris has his grandpa's truck, and it's a swept line. And the only reason he has it is because it's his grandpa's truck. And I think it's a 383. Um, he's got it out his place in Sioux Falls, but it's rusty. Um, it's just the nostalgic value that it was his grandfather's truck is the only reason he's hanging on to it. But he would love to try to fix it up a little bit someday. But yeah, at Mopars in the Park, there was that red one, 4-wheel drive with the white wheels that was kind of lifted up with skinny, kind of muddy tires on it. That thing, and it sounded healthy. Oh, it sounded pretty wicked. And then there was that kind of light robin's egg blue one. But there are a few of those swept line trucks there that were just like, man, those things are nice. Hey, Wild Rose, thanks for stopping in. I really, really enjoy watching your videos and stuff. Definitely like your engine builds and your. Cool. She's starting off right. Yeah, Mopar Nut. Actually, there's a guy I talked to Just Mopar Joe about buying a 400 from him, and some things came up, and I haven't just been able to get around to doing it. But there's a guy right here in my hometown who's got a 400 with a transmission. It's a 74 Mopar 400 with a 727 that's not stuck, and it has an aluminum intake, and it's got like I think a Carter 4 barrel on it. It's set for a long time, and he only wants 250 bucks, and he's gonna sell it with the cart that it's on because he just wants the space in his garage. So I mean, I'm right now in my garage with shit just all over the place to the point where my wife's gonna kick me in the ass. But um, that's just a ridiculous price. I feel like I have to go get that one. Yeah, if it's still there. But yeah, it was on the marketplace here, and it's just like here's my town, and here's the town that he's in. So it's just a matter of zipping over there and seeing. He'd probably be able to load it into my truck, but my engine hoist is here, and I'd want to take it over to my storage. So I'd have to try to figure out a way to unload it. I'd have to haul my engine hoist over to my storage space, which wouldn't be a bad idea because even though it folds up, it takes up a lot of space in my garage. It's not a stand. It's on some sort of like a dolly thing. It's like I got my transmission on one of those things you get from Harbor Freight. It's like a wheel dolly, like a flat. It's on something like that. So, but it's not an engine stand. But yeah, the price. I'm like, dude, that's because I think I was talking to Mopar Joe, and he wanted like 350 for his, and I would have to go down and get it and stuff, and that's in Arkansas. And although I'd probably have him build it for me. Yeah, I mean that's a ridiculous price. He obviously just wants to get rid of it. And I'm needing a road trip. Uh, I was actually on the 23rd going back down to see my mom again. I think here in Southern Illinois, but yeah, I wouldn't mind at some point here making around and visiting fellow YouTubers. Hopefully, I have one of my cars running. It'd be cool to, if I had the satellite where it was road trip worthy enough to drive down to see some people, or get this thing running so I could take it and go race with some people. So my 440 that is up at Gary's has got the LY rods with the forged crank, and I know a lot of guys like the LY rods. The six pack rods are definitely stronger, but they're heavier. Whereas like the LY rods are strong enough, and then a little bit lighter weight. So that's kind of a old trick that like Gary talks about. He liked using the LY rods. I don't know where Aledo is. Um, if you look at the map of Illinois, one of the southern cities, Mount Vernon, is kind of like down in the south central tip of Illinois, and she's right around Mount Vernon. So is Aledo, northern Illinois, southern Illinois, uh, west, western Illinois, eastern Illinois. Do you know? Maybe I can look it up here. So Aledo, Illinois is on the western part. It's kind of near the Quad Cities. And if I were to drive down that way, it takes me like 15 hours to go see my mom. Whereas if I cut across the Champaign and down, it's like a 10 or 11-hour drive. So I'd say it's roughly halfway between me and my mom, but it would be kind of out of my way as far as going to Aledo. But if you were going to go there, Yeah, I never expected to be on here this long. When I first came on, I didn't think anyone was going to come on, so I'm totally grateful and thankful for everyone who stopped in. Just as I was about to sign off, I got some awesome people. Wild Rose checked in. I enjoy watching his channel. Marty, it was always, I haven't actually talked to you in a long time. And then now that Jed's on here and Moparnut 62, it's like, got the in crowd now. Where were you at, Jed? Yeah, that's what I did earlier today. Got in a satellite and drove around. There's a little lake down here that I like to drive to, and I'll walk around the lake. It's like about 3.5 miles, and then I'll get in my car and kind of cruise the long way back home. I've been doing that about every day this week, except yesterday. It was just pouring rain all day yesterday. Yeah, today I actually drove around with my windows up. It was like 72, 74 degrees, which I'll take. Like right now, I'm sitting in my garage and it's probably like 60, 67, 68 degrees. It's perfect. It's cool enough that I'm not getting killed by bugs. That's for sure. I mean, there's still some here, but yeah. But yeah, I've been trying to coordinate getting my satellite over to the storage garage and then loading up a bunch of junk here and then taking it over the storage garage so I can wheel this car in and around here and do more on it. But I like having the satellite here so I can hop in it and run my little errands, zip into the grocery store and going to get coffee. It's a lot more fun than taking the truck. Well, yeah, Jed, I was about to call it in at the 1 hour mark, and then a couple guys came on that I was wanting to talk to, and then all of a sudden I got like this whole new group of guys. So the guys that started off with me have all bailed, and then now I had like Moparnut 62, you, Wild Rose, Marty, but now it sounds like some of them are starting to bail too. So then I seriously got to clean up this clutter so that my wife can park in the garage. So what time is it now? 12:25. I'm gonna be up till like 1:25 moving stuff in my garage back around. Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow for sure, Scott. Jed. You should just put Jed's Speed Shop on your name when you chat, so I don't keep calling you Scott. Yeah, I can sit here and look at this thing all day. I enjoy it. Both of them, you know. I just wish I had you guys closer so that like I said, I don't mind trying to do stuff, but I like having people that know what they're doing helping me so that at least, you know, it's going to work when I put it together and I don't break anything. My saving grace is my wife complains about the garage, but then we have a room upstairs that's like a closet storage place for her where she has like a bunch of clothes piled up. And then she has a bunch of knickknacks and tables down in the basement that she rotates upstairs periodically. So she has her version of clutter. And if you didn't notice, the shoe closet that has started to invade my garage space. Yeah, I told and the offer goes to you too, Jed, or anybody. When I finally get this car running, all the stuff that I don't use, I want to get rid of. So whether you could sell any of it, or like Ryan Barsness and them can put it on their website and sell any of it, it's all. I'd love to give it away. Oh, you don't know what shoes. You don't know between Diana and her sister is ridiculous. So for every car part that I have, they've got a pair of shoes plus two more. Well, for not 62, you need to move here then. I think it would be cheaper to move toward you, probably. But yeah, it's getting kind of late, and I think I am gonna call it a night. But yeah, man, I really enjoy. Glad you guys stopped in, man. It really helped me pass the night. I had nothing to watch on TV, or I do have a book that I'm reading that I like. Until winter hits, Jed. All right, guys. Well, Pernut 62, Jed, thanks for helping me close out the night. And good night, everybody.